Well, hey, that sure was a fun week of not remembering to set the auto-uploads for retro episodes or short. Great, bet that didn't fuck up the algorithm at all. Anyway, I wanted to give the reaction to the Super Mario Bros. Movie time to breathe on either end because, as I said in the lead-up to that... Okay, so basically I misremembered. I thought that I had mentioned this in the review that I did for the movie. Apparently I did not, but yeah. I basically just looked at all of the bullshit that I knew was coming for this, because at this point there's always bullshit with these things, and just said, you know, I just don't want to deal with this one at this point. I wanted to enjoy a Mario movie coming out, if there's now going to be a series of these, at least one time before this now became a permanent fixture for the rest of however long I'm still doing reviews and working as a critic, to just, you know, have fun with it and watch it as an audience member, as I'd been waiting to all of this time. So I just kind of made a conscious decision that if there was going to be spoiler discourse or thematic discourse leading up to it, you know, I'll deal with it after, at least on this once. I'm sure I'll have to deal with it if there's going to be a Zelda thing or a Kirby thing or sequels to this later on. They're definitely unavoidable if they do Metroid, God help us all. But I just wanted to have to the degree that you could have a clean experience with it, at least one good experience with one of these before it just became another thing that having to do this as part of my career takes some of the enjoyment out of, which I got to, and that's great. I enjoyed the movie for what it was when I saw it, and then I got to watch it with my young niece and nephew, and they loved it, and getting to enjoy them enjoying it made it really the best experience that I could hope to have with it. And so I think I made the right decision in that regard. It helps that it's a very direct, simple, straightforward movie, so there isn't really that much to be digging through about it in that regard. We'll talk about that in a bit in the actual episode. But yeah, that's why there wasn't a big lead in with a dozen big picture episodes. Well, what's the plot going to be? What will the movie be about? What will happen in the story? Here's a theory about Bowser. That's why I could have done them. Probably would have made some traffic out of it, but I wanted to enjoy just this one for what it was. So, yeah, that's why. If you were hoping for content like that, sorry to disappoint, but, you know, sometimes that's the equivalent of self-care around here. Yeah. And as it turns out, boy, did I ever make the right call there, because wow, did this get stupid right the hell away. So yeah, correct decision on me calling an audible on that one, i.e. somehow this is going to get incredibly stupid somehow. Please let yourself enjoy the Mario movie before it does. Incorrect, because the lead up to it was already stupid, thanks to the usual gang of fucking assholes getting an early start on finding predictably stupid reasons to pretend to be mad about these things, because, look, it's the same model the Fox News and a lot of social media run on. When you build your entire personality around the idea that there's some amorphous world order trying to keep you and your audience down, and only have a constant state of alertness and engagement with the brand can protect them, you have to keep creating new things to be afraid of. It's a consumer mindset that can't function in a state where it's not perpetually standing up to something, anything, as William F. Buckley, the father of the grand oxymoron that is modern conservative intellectualism, air quotes, described it. A conservative is someone who stands athwart history, yelling stop at a time when no one is inclined to do so.
What's the point of video games? It's for kids to be kids. Now you sit down, pick up a controller, and they're like, by the way, the world's on fire. Ah!
Incandescent light bulbs. They're also on the way out. The Department of Energy has just banned them. They look too good. So now you're stuck with some glowy fluorescent crap. You're saving the planet.
M&Ms will not be satisfied until every last cartoon character is deeply unappealing and totally androgynous.
And since these folks have basically accepted that every major cultural product now coming out is either actively against them and everything they stand for, or simply quite happy to bypass them because, among other things, they all look, think, and behave like AI art prompts for natural selection cleaning out its filter, but that they can grift traffic off complaining about it, they have to find a reason to whine about a Mario movie ahead of time. And here the whine was that the film was part of the woke agenda. Woke, here a word meaning feminist instead of black or gay or I am the most divorced man ever, as it does in other circumstances, because the character of Princess Peach, portrayed by Anna Taylor-Joy, is a proactive character.
Peach just taking charge, stands up right there. Like right at that moment right there, when I saw that, I was thinking Bo Peep from Toy Story 4, Rey Skywalker.
Get it out, get it out, get it out!
And as you see right here, Peach is the one that has to save him. It is impossible to not be alarmed by these things in current day Hollywood. It's absolutely impossible. I mean, Peach is just like, there's literally, Peach has done nothing but be stoic and smart and powerful and commanding, and Mario is bumbling, stumbling idiot.
The reality is, this has actual ramifications on society. Young women see stuff like this, and it just brainwashes them to be a feminist, to be a badass feminist, and it's not realistic. Women are not as strong as men. Women aren't the ones who are going to go out there and be like, watch this, let me kick ass. This like badass bitch culture is actually ruining women, and it's ruining society, and nobody knows where they stand anymore. So actually, it has real consequences. I'm sick and tired of seeing unrealistic things like that. Please make her a helpless princess again, okay? That's a lot more fitting for Princess Peach. Sorry.
That was an awful voice of Peach. That was like, Peach was supposed to be, you know, damsel in distress, high-pitched, girly, and stuff like that. That was total mainstream Hollywood girl boss voice.
Yeah.
This is pissing me off.
Yeah. Well, they're taking away the femininity of Peach. Yeah.
Princess Peach.
Yeah.
Give it her pants.
Yeah.
Freaking come off it, man. Yeah. They went out of their way to make girl boss Peach in that as a very primary kind of thing. It's almost like, see how progressive this is? It's like, oh, even coming to Mario. Japan, you're our last bastion of normality in this sea of subversive crap. Oh.
A massive change to the standard gender dynamic of the Super Mario Bros. Games that Nintendo introduced in the second game 35 fucking years ago. But then a thing happened. See, most of that stupidity, that was about the trailers before the movie even came out. And when it did come out, the reviews came in from critics and they weren't really all that great. I mean, mine was, I had fun, and I don't really love to do the audience versus critics thing because it's a complicated conversation, but in this case, for now, what I'll say about it is this. See, I don't really like to get into audiences versus critics. I think a lot of the time, most of the time, almost all the time, that is a false dichotomy and that there's more going on with it. When it comes to this one, I don't think it's this big, huge mystery as to why there was disconnect between audiences and critics, or at least fans and critics. I don't think there's some conspiracy. I don't think it's about politics. I don't think it's about wokeness or unwokeness, which is all so fucking stupid. Guys, come on. To the degree that anything happened here at all, I think a lot of it comes down to mismarketing, and not just of this movie, but of expectations for animated movies in general. For the last 20, 30 years or so, the trend has been that animated family movie actually means a four-quadrant movie with mostly family-friendly jokes and some asides for adults, like the Lego movie, like Shrek, like pretty much any Disney movie. And what you don't generally see get released to theaters directly are films that are genuinely aimed directly at children. Things like the Blue's Clues movie, the Paw Patrol movie. I don't actually know if they've done like a feature version of that, the Spider-Man cartoon where they have the big heads. Things like that are made specifically for very young children. And this is much closer to that in tone and execution, and very deliberately, I think, than it is to a Shrek, or even a Minions, really. This is much younger skewing than the Minions. There's been a lot of writing that the popularity of the Minions movies is that you can basically watch the Minion parts without dialogue because they just speak baby talk to each other, which is basically true. The Mario movie, you could basically cut out the dialogue-driven parts of this and just have them speak the babble speak that the characters do to each other in the games, where Charles Martinet speaks like the nonsense dialogue and the Italian-sounding inflection, and that's what Mario's voice is in the games. And you would have basically the same movie. It would be followable because it's a simple, straightforward, basically a movie for kindergartners. And I think a lot of critics went into it expecting something completely different than that, whether or not they thought it was good otherwise, and came away like, well, what is this? It's like compare Follow That Bird, the Sesame Street movie, to the other Muppet movies. The other Muppet movies are very richly textured, and they're aimed at a grown-up audience that like the Muppet Show. Follow That Bird is for Sesame Street fans. It skews younger. I would argue in many ways it's just as good as the Muppet movies, but it's a different thing. Skews younger, plays simpler. So to the degree that the reviews aren't great, I think that has more to do with it than any sort of critics just didn't get it, because there's not that much in there to get. And again, I say this as someone who gave this movie a 9 out of 10. Reviewing it, it is a 9 out of 10 movie for preschoolers. And that's fine. It's a Mario movie. That's what it should be. And I just think that has a lot more to do with the disconnect than whatever conspiracy nonsense people are putting onto it, or any talk about movie critics are elitist or academic. I'm a movie critic. I may be a snob and kind of an asshole. I'm not an elitist. I'd show you my bank statement, but it makes me cry, and it would probably make you cry. But you see, the only thing the outrage business is more invested in for their dumb pantomime than fans versus woke Hollywood is fans versus media, and they can't really well be agreeing with the media, aka film critics, by trashing a Mario movie, even though we've got piles of receipts that the crying man-children YouTube grifter collective was all fired up to trash the Mario movie over Girl Boss Princess Peach as another go-to effigy for them to hate right alongside Captain Marvel, Batgirl, and Disa. So once the movie hit and it turned out it was this huge success that, just normal audiences really seem to like, they pivoted. They pivoted hard and are just pretending no one notices.
If that is the way the winds are blowing, let no one say I don't also blow.
Now claiming that the movie they were pre-roasting sight unseen as essentially Illuminati leftist propaganda hatched directly from a rainbow demon egg laid by Hillary Clinton herself in the Bohemian Grove under a blood moon is in fact as successful as it is because it's a conservative family values movie that endorses their ideology, actually. Summary of evidence?
The main character roles were voiced by, wait for it, 2 white men! Chris Pratt and Charlie Day star in the movie as Mario and Luigi. 2 white men. Record box office figures. Maybe diversity isn't such a strength after all.
1 million? Some would say that's more.
Oh my gosh. Everybody knows it's going to be endless lecturing. That's why Top Gun did so well.
Yeah.
For the past couple years, Disney's been complaining, well, we don't have families coming out to the theaters. Families don't want to come out. They want to watch movies at home. They want to watch movies in streaming. That's why we've had colossal flops and colossal failures. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that we're pushing identity politics. That narrative has blown up in their faces.
Hey, did anything else happen over the last couple of years that could have affected box office or movie theater attendance? Anything at all. Anything you could think of. Anything else other than family audiences rejecting identity, but anything at all that would have lowered movie attendance, more or less across the board over the last couple of years. Did something happen across the world over the last couple of years? Specifically the last 2 to 3. I mean, look, I understand that we're dealing with very, very stupid, very, very disingenuous people here, but I mean, that's some next level. I mean, seriously, fuck that guy. Because that's not just ignoring, economic realities and stuff you can just look up on the news. That's pretending to ignore death and destruction and sickness and pain of millions of people and memory holing all of that in order to dunk on a fake corporate narrative, and also to embrace a corporate narrative that companies like Disney and government agencies that are failing us and a whole capitalist consumer system that's failing us by insisting that people move on and pretend that it didn't happen and isn't still happening so that everything can go back to normal and we can get back to profits again. And that just... I mean, that really fucking pisses me off. Sorry, but it's hard to stay only the funny version of angry all the time sometimes. Anyway, so this is an opportunity for the set that pretends it's losing a war when someone else plays the Little Mermaid or a dwarf to act like that means something, apparently. Good lord, is this fucking tiring. What the hell is wrong with you people? I mean, honestly, I hope I don't need to explain why this is such a brain-dead exercise for the record. To the degree that anything can be devoid of hidden meaning or subtext, the Super Mario Brothers movie is pretty much the apotheosis of devoid of hidden meaning or subtext. Yeah, I mean, that's why the reviews weren't that great, in my opinion, once again. It's pretty much a movie for preschoolers without a lot going on underneath, which doesn't make it bad, it just makes it what it is. A very simple movie with a very simple structure mainly intended for very young children, based on video games that are also very simple in narrative with a very simple structure for young children. It's short to the point, rendered in bright primary colors, follows a deliberate 3-act Hollywood story structure rigidly, and is made entirely of familiar beats even younger audiences will recognize in the hero's journey. Frankly, in 2023, it would be more surprising if Princess Peach wasn't a quote-unquote girl boss, because Nintendo already having her there in Mario 2 and her solo DS game notwithstanding, that's been the default for how princess characters have been expected to be in kids' movies since the turn of the millennium. Heck, in movies, period. This movie, this came out last year, and it's just called The Princess.
Who are you?
I'm the princess.
So I'm not surprised Princess Peach saving herself pissed off fake outrage YouTube before it didn't. That's kind of their brand. But they shouldn't have been surprised that it was there in the first place, because that's just normal movie plotting now. It has been for decades. It's ordinary. Anyone who isn't a total dipshit should have known it was coming the minute they announced the movie, the same way you knew Jack Black would do a song and it would be the highlight of the movie. But they didn't see it coming because they're fucking stupid, so now they all get to look stupid with their pre-release "we hate this already because woman doing things" takes all still online right next to their post-release "oh, this is a huge hit and a chance to make a fake feud with real critics, well, we love it" takes forever and ever, because at the end of the day, these are people who are just bad at watching movies and analyzing media. This is why we used to call the right-wing culture war political archetype reactionary, because they can only react to things, to the world, to events, to ideas, to other people's politics, not having anything truly solid or coherent of their own to say. They're incapable of actually looking at something and coming up with something to say about it of their own. All they can do is wait for people or groups or stuff that they hate to tell them what something is about so that they can say, "No, I'm against that. For whatever reason, you're for that."
I don't know what they have to say. It makes no difference anyway. Whatever it is, I'm against it. No matter what it is or who commenced it, I'm against it.
That's why the word woke doesn't mean anything, because it's just a placeholder for anything reactionaries hate because people they hate like it. But since we're mainly talking about disingenuous idiots grifting for e-bucks, not even educated assholes like the aforementioned late Mr. Buckley, they don't know what woke things to hate until they're told to hate it. If people they hate don't mention that they like something, if there isn't a narrative for them to be a counter-narrative against, they're swimming upstream. And you know how I can prove it? 2 words. Cocaine bear.
Yeah, so I'm not kidding around. If you want an illustration of how this whole, woke movies and we can predict which movies are and aren't and anti-woke bullshit, how bullshit that is, look at the way that Cocaine Bear was reacted to, or rather, not reacted to, because that was a movie that did well. Pretty much across the board, people who are like super political about movies on the left, on the right, people who are not at all, pretty much everyone kind of liked this movie when it came out. Some people, reviewed it was bad, said it was disappointing, whatnot. But this was a movie that everyone was pretty excited about, how much fun it looked. When it came out, the reviews, mine very much agreed with the majority of them that said, yeah, hey, this was about as fun as it looked, good job, had fun, and it never really became any part of that discourse whatsoever. It was that it was a wacky, fun, gory horror movie, and that had some comedic elements because it's about a cocaine bear, the bear that's on cocaine, and hey, we all had a good time. Here's the thing, not only is Cocaine Bear, and I'm not bullshitting you, a quote-unquote woke movie, their definition, not mine, I don't use stupid bullshit vice signaling terms, it's very, very obviously so, and none of these motherfuckers talked about it because no one making the movie brought it up that it was supposed to be, so they didn't know that they were supposed to go to war against it. Because all they ever do is wait for people to say that they're proud that they made a progressive movie, a positive movie for representation, a positive movie for progressive values. They wait to hear that it's good that this movie has a trans character, or that this movie has a majority black cast, or that the movie has a woman director. And then they take that as a cue that they have to attack it and slap it and jump on it because their whole thing is that no, that's not a good thing. You should not be happy about that. Why are we even talking about this? And I was even gonna do like a parody sketch. I bought a beard so that I could do like a character and put like a stupid wall of shitty Funko Pops up behind me, which would have to be digital because I don't have a wall of Funko Pops to do that with, and do a whole bit about how I paid for Cocaine Bear and I got Wocaine Bear. And then I realized I didn't even want to pretend to inhabit that space. So now I'm gonna have to find something else to do with that beard. I'm sure I will, that's fine. Point here, let me explain this. The real Cocaine Bear was a male dead bear that died of, you know, overdosing on a bunch of cocaine that it ate. That's the real version of the movie. The fake version of the movie is that the bear lived for longer than like a couple of seconds after this and kills a bunch of people in the movie, and it's a spoof of like killer animal movies. In reality, the bear was a male bear. They actually nicknamed it Pablo Escobar before they made Cocaine Bear, and now it's just Cocaine Bear. In the movie, the Cocaine Bear is a female bear, and there are like bear cubs at one point also. The Cocaine Bear isn't good, it's just a female bear doing what a female bear does, just also while on cocaine. The lone, mostly good human, the human who is, you know, only has altruistic motives, is a mother, a young single mother who's in the woods looking for her kids. So there's a parallel being drawn between, you know, metaphorically Mama Bear and a literal Mama Bear. And the leader of the bad humans is the late Ray Liotta as a very toxic masculinity type dad figure who is in there with his adult son, who he is setting a bad example for, and who undergoes a character arc throughout the movie. So there's a very obvious thing being drawn here between who is the good human, who is the bad human, what makes this eventual bad human the real monster and not really the Cocaine Bear. Please don't tell me that that's supposed to be a spoiler that a monster movie does a human is the real monster thing, because that's every fucking monster movie. But like that right there, that is what you would call easy bait for any one of these guys to put in one of their fucking videos if they had bothered to notice that that was the plot of the movie. And not only that, the movie is directed by Elizabeth Banks, who's like one of the patron saints of all of the stuff they're supposed to hate. She is a feminist filmmaker. She directed the reboot of Charlie's Angels, the most recent one that I know you forgot that they even made. She makes the Pitch Perfect movies, a female audience really likes, so of course the anti-woke YouTube guys have to say that they hate. It's right there. It's even got the title. They tricked us. They made Cocaine Bear into Wocaine Bear. Like, they could have gotten months of content off of this, and they didn't do it because the people making Cocaine Bear didn't like mention this in their marketing at all and didn't make it a part of the sale. Not because I think they were avoiding it, because they had another thing to sell, namely that they had a movie about Cocaine Bear, the bear that does cocaine, which is a much more fun thing to sell than any political stuff that you could be selling on any end of it. And thus, deprived of this, you can see that they don't know how to do any kind of real analysis. The easiest thematic thing for their whole grift is sitting there right in the middle of the movie, and they don't notice it. They don't see that it's there. They don't know how to read media. They don't know how to do analysis. They don't know how to actually watch films, even from their own perspective, because their own perspective is fake bullshit. They don't believe in anything. And to the degree that they do believe in things, they're too stupid to actually describe it. All they do is wait for people they hate to say they like something and then yell about how much they therefore dislike it. It's a fake, cheap grift, and that exposes it. I mean, if I had no ethics, I could adopt a fake persona version of that and do 20 Cocaine Bear episodes about how they tricked everyone into watching a feminist propaganda movie about how mama bears are the better types of parenting versus toxic masculinity dad characters as embodied by Ray Liotta, which is the thematic arc of the movie. And that they literally changed the real-life male bear character into a female bear character for the film. Like, that's easy content. Any one of these fucking guys could have done it and probably made a bunch of scratch off of it. And they couldn't because they didn't even know to do it. They're not even good at their own fake jobs, the bad version of cheap media analysis. How sad is that? And I know it's weird to start this off about Mario and end it about Cocaine Bear, but you know what? That's honestly where the arc of it takes us. And I know some of you might like hop down in the comments and say, well, why would you tell them that and teach them how to be better at what you think is something bad that they do. They're not going to learn this lesson. They don't care. And they're idiots. But I hope maybe you learned something. I'm Bob, and that is the big picture. Yeah. And I'll see you in the next one of these whenever we get it posted. Yeah.